For thousands of years, it's been one of the world's great mysteries. Just how were the pyramids built so deep in the Egyptian desert?
For thousands of years, the Great Pyramid has been a mystery. Graham Hancock, like many historians, has always wondered about the puzzling construction and hidden secrets of the pyramid.
And anybody who tells you that he or she knows how the pyramids were built are not telling the truth, because we don't know. We don't know.
He always searches for the truth. Why do the pyramids rise upward? Why are they blocked by doors? And if this was truly a tomb, why has no burial ever been found inside? But after 20 years of research, Hancock finally realized that the Great Pyramid is more than just a monument. In this video, we will reveal the true purpose behind the construction of the pyramid. Let's begin. Hancock believes the structure of the pyramid was too grand to be a simple tomb. It was built to mirror the Earth, perfectly aligned to true north, and it weighs 6 million tons. It's a device to make us question and understand its purpose. I hope Egyptologists will consider that it might be more than just a tomb, especially as new technologies continue to uncover hidden spaces. It's not just about how it was built, but why it was built. Graham is convinced that there is a cosmic reason behind it. To support his claim, he references the phrase, "as above, so below," an ancient concept from the Hermetical, a text embodying ancient Egyptian wisdom. This idea suggests that the perfection of the heavens should be reflected here on Earth. Hancock also believes that the pyramid might have been designed to invite people to explore and learn about it. The Giza Plateau in Egypt, home to the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, is filled with mysteries. These ancient wonders have always raised questions in Hancock's mind. He gets his inspiration from John Anthony West. Hancock believes the Sphinx might be much older than we know. He noticed water erosion on the Sphinx, suggesting it was exposed to heavy rainfall. This theory first started with philosopher Schwalier Dubik, and John Anthony West, a passionate Egyptologist, studied the erosion patterns carefully. West then invited geologist Robert Schoch to investigate. Schoch boldly said the Sphinx had been exposed to a lot of rain for over 1,000 years. As Schoch studied further, he pushed the date back, suggesting the Sphinx was built about 12,000 years ago, during a time when the Sahara was green and fertile. The Sahara was full of rivers and lakes and much wetter than it is today. Robert and Graham Hancock worked on many books together. Sadly, Robert became discouraged by harsh criticism from Egyptologists about his research. But Robert was a genius. He made an important discovery that says the 3 pyramids at Giza are arranged like the 3 stars in Orion's belt. Some may say this is just a coincidence, but Orion is special. It represents Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife, which meant the pyramids weren't just randomly placed. Looking at the stars over time, we see something surprising. Today, the pyramids don't perfectly match Orion's belt, but 10,500 BC is a different story. Back then, the pyramids lined up exactly with the stars. This is also when the Great Sphinx was built to align with the rising sun on the spring equinox. Anyone can test this theory by visiting Giza just before dawn and watching the sun rise perfectly in line with the Sphinx. Hancock thinks the Sphinx was originally a lion. Over time, erosion and sand covered most of it, leaving only the lion's head exposed. By the 4th dynasty, the head was recarved into a pharaoh's face, possibly Pharaoh Khafra. Egyptologists think this was done then, but Hancock is determined the original lion head is the true design. The 3 big pyramids and the Sphinx line up with the stars. Hancock knows that this can't be an accident. If one looks at the sky from then, they could see the Milky Way, and it matches the Nile River below. Maybe this is why Giza was chosen for this special place. Even though the ancient Egyptians lived much later, they may have used this alignment to honor a past time. They may have used the stars and big stone buildings to mark that ancient date. The Sphinx is the biggest mystery. The way it's eroded suggests it's much older, maybe 12,500 years old. The nearby Valley Temple, with huge stone blocks weighing up to 100 tons, also points to a time far earlier than we once thought. Even though granite was added later, The original limestone blocks show us something ancient. The limestone blocks were worn down before the granite blocks were placed. These granite blocks were carefully cut to fit the old marks left by the stones. The Giza site is more complex than it seems. The ancient Egyptians played a big part in building the Great Pyramids, but Hancock believes older platforms were there long before the pyramids. When we see the 3 Great Pyramids, we're looking at updates to older structures that stood there much earlier. The Great Pyramid was built around a natural hill, which the Egyptians may have thought was a sacred mound. The Sphinx was already there before the pyramids, and the pyramids were built to honor this sacred spot. Platforms where the pyramids stand were in place, but the pyramids we see now weren't yet built. So how do Egyptologists date the pyramids and the Sphinx? The Great Pyramids are different from later pyramids. This raises the question of when pyramid building really started. Egyptologists say the first pyramid was the step pyramid of Pharaoh Zoster at Saqqara. Now first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you. A long time before the Giza pyramids were built, Pharaoh Sneferu built 3 Great Pyramids, one at Meidum and 2 at Dashur, the Bent and Red Pyramids. At the same time, the Giza pyramids were built. After that, pyramid building in Egypt dropped. The 5th dynasty pyramids were much smaller and looked less like pyramids, but when you enter them, you see lots of hieroglyphs and images of the king's name. The Giza pyramids don't have any writing inside, except for one piece of graffiti that's debated. The Great Pyramid is huge, weighing 6 million tons, and with sides over 750 feet long. It's perfectly aligned with north, south, east, and west. The angle is almost perfect, just 3/60ths of a degree off. Its size and complex passageways are incredible. In the 9th century, the pyramid still had its outer stones. An Arab ruler, Al-Mamun, guessed the entrance was on the north side. He sent workers to break through it. After hammering, they found a hidden space and entered the pyramid. Inside, the corridors slope at 26 degrees, while the outside slopes at 52 degrees. This shows great knowledge of math and design. At the top of the grand gallery of the pyramid, above the queen's chamber, is the king's chamber. Inside, there's a sarcophagus that is too big to fit through the narrow entrance. It looks like the chamber was built around it. Above the king's chamber, there are 5 smaller chambers. These are called relieving chambers. They were thought to help with the weight of the pyramid. But this idea doesn't make sense, because the queen's chamber below doesn't have relieving chambers above it. A British man, Howard VI, once blew a hole into these chambers. He said he found graffiti with the name of Pharaoh Khufu on it. Hancock saw it too, and it does look like Khufu's name. But nobody knows if the graffiti is real or if Howard made it for money. Still, it helps support the idea that Khufu had a big role in building the pyramid. Another clue Hancock found from a diary found near the Red Sea. The diary talks about bringing polished limestone to the Great Pyramid. It's clear this refers to the outer stones of the pyramid, not the inner core. This also links Khufu to the pyramid. But Hancock believes Khufu didn't start the pyramid, but added it to a much older structure. The heart of this structure is the subterranean chamber, which is 100 feet below the base. To get there, you walk down a 26-degree sloping passage that is about 300 feet long. It's a tight squeeze, and the best way to move through it is backward, as the passage is only 3.5 feet high. Some Egyptologists thought the subterranean chamber was meant to be Khufu's burial place, but after all the work, they decided not to bury him there. Instead, they built the queen's chamber and later moved his tomb to the king's chamber. When the Arab raiders came, they didn't find anything in the pyramid. The Sphinx and parts of the pyramid might be much older. If so, it could show that knowledge came from an ancient civilization. During the Younger Dryas, this civilization was destroyed. The survivors spread around the world, sharing stories of the stars, building, and navigation. The ancient Egyptians called this time Zipe. It was when they believed gods walked the earth, and 7 wise sages brought knowledge to Egypt. These sages are seen as the start of Egyptian civilization. Some lists of kings go back 30,000 years, though many believe they are myths. Still, they show how old Egypt's history might be. In Egypt, secret groups like the followers of Horus kept ancient knowledge alive. Another group, the souls of Pe and Nakin, did the same. Hancock is convinced after the Younger Dryas, a small group of survivors found refuge in Giza. These survivors were connected to the 7 sages who appear in many cultures, from Mesopotamia to the Persian Gulf. These sages taught farming, building, and knowledge of the stars. The survivors learned from local people and passed their knowledge on. This wisdom was kept secret for years and later grew during Egypt's 4th dynasty. The idea that knowledge can last for thousands of years makes sense. Just as knowledge from ancient Israel, starting with Abraham, has lasted over 4,000 years. But the actual mystery of how the pyramid was built is still unsolved. Theories like using ramps or wet sand don't fully explain how they lifted massive blocks into place. Ramps were used for moving large stones on sleds, but that wouldn't work for raising 70-ton granite blocks 300 feet in the air. The ramps needed to do that would have been enormous, but no trace of such ramps has been found. We still don't know how it was done. That's why there are so many theories. Thanks for watching. See you next time.